So the kids heard me talking about that this lesson had greater than signs, and they were like, yeah, like in first grade when you go A is greater than 2. No, it's not that simple, okay? It's just equations that have those in them. Now, just to clarify, A is greater than 2 would be something like this. Here's a number line, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, what's to the left of 1, 0, and then you get into negatives. So I'm pausing for a moment. Okay, so here is bigger than 2. You go like this, and you go like this. Except that is slightly wrong. Can anybody be picky and tell me what's wrong with that? That's not it. You're right, we don't know what A is, but that's still, it's really close to right. There's only one little thing wrong with it. You filled in the circle. Nice work. It should be an empty circle right there. Do you get the difference? If I said or equals, then I should fill in the circle. So I filled in a circle when I shouldn't have because the problem looks like this, greater than, and it has to be an empty circle. Do you understand that? No. This is the beginnings. This is like what you did learn back in, it wasn't first grade, but it was probably like third or fourth grade, something like that. Anyway, guys, we're not going to argue about exactly what grade it was in. So we're going to instead show you one of the ones that's actually like the type we're going to do. This is the easiest of them, and they will get harder, of course. But if I say A plus 4 is bigger than 6, you got to act just like it's an equation. You know how you get that variable alone? And you go minus 4, draw the line. A is bigger than 6 minus 4 is 2. There. And now the answer is A is greater than 2. They have number lines after them. You have to graph all of them when you're done with them. So the only thing to not forget here is which way do you go from the 2? If it's bigger than, it's kind of like an end of an arrow. It's pointing that way. So you go that way. And then don't fill in the circle unless it says what? It says equal. Exactly. And if it did, then I would say fill in the circle. Okay. Only one more rule you have to learn, and that's it. That's this whole unit. We're going to do it today. We're going to review it Monday and then give you a quiz on it on Tuesday. During that time, we'll do a little bit of reviewing for the final because the final's coming up here. All right. This is the last thing. What if it says negative 2A is greater than 10? I know you know that you're going to divide by negative 2. I know that you remember that, unless you happen to, for a brief moment, forget it. But you divide by negatives, right? And then this does something special with these greater than signs. The answer is 10 divided by 2 is negative 5. But what do you think is special? You flip the sign. Very good. We got an expert in the back there. Yes. Notice the pointy end was on the right. Now the pointy end's on the left. It is true in the old days, your elementary teacher probably told you the alligator eats the bigger one. So here's the alligator now. Remember that? And they would eat the bigger one. So what they're saying is that this one's bigger than this one. So when you put the number line out and you say here's negative 5, which way do you shade? I like to think of it this way. It's pointing that way, so you shade that way. Okay? And should I fill it in, the circle, or not? No. Very good. So when are you going to flip the sign? That's the biggest thing people are going to forget. I guarantee it. On the test, you'll be like going through, doing well, and all of a sudden you're going to forget to switch the sign. What kind of problems make you switch the sign? If you multiply or divide by a negative. Multiply or divide by neg. That's the crucial moment because it's going to happen on the test, I promise. We will do ones where you have to multiply or divide by a negative. And when you do, that's the big moment. All right, write this one down, please. Only if you multiply or divide by a negative will you switch the sign. All right, 6A plus 3, no, not equals, that would be last unit. All we have to change is say less than, and then 9, for example. All right, so what's the first step? Just act like it's an equation. First thing you should do is what? Minus what? Minus 3, good. Everybody do -3. I like to draw a line across. Can or don't have to, but up to you. 6a is less than 6. Now, some people think, well, didn't you say when I did a negative? I didn't say when you did a negative. When you multiply or divide by a negative. Did I multiply by 3? No. I didn't multiply or divide, so I don't switch the sign. Sign stays the same. Now, I'm almost done. Get that 6 off of there, and the a will be alone. Divide by 6. Good. And that makes it a is less than 1. And that's the answer. And I find the 1, and I go, here's the 1. And I have the pointy ends going that way, so I'll go, it goes this way. Now, remember what the whole alligator eats the bigger one thing? That your elementary teacher probably told you that, but they probably never told you what alligators do when they're eating the bigger thing. They don't like to eat their prey the way it comes alive. They don't like to eat their prey when it's alive. They like to eat their prey when it's dead. This greater than sign, I know it's kind of funny looking because I gave it teeth, but if it was a greater than sign, would you agree that 2 is bigger than -6? When alligators eat their prey, they grab them, drag them in the water, and drown them. That's their favorite way to kill stuff. But they don't just like pull it underwater, they twist. Have you heard of, they roll? Yeah. Gator roll, very good. And the death roll is sometimes what it's called. So they roll around and they thrash around in the water until that thing that was up above the water is now dead. And that's done. That's what they don't tell you in elementary school. And then I'll even add this part. Then they like to drag it down the river and stuff it underneath an old log. They like to hide their food for a while because they don't like it fresh. They actually like it better when it's bloated and nasty. So then, a couple days later, they go back and finish it off. They also know if they leave it up on shore that other predators will go and eat it, so they hide it underwater and come back to it later. So that's the rest of the story on alligators. Of course, if you're an old person in Florida, you have to watch out nowadays. There's so many alligators around. They actually, I've seen quite a few stories where that some old lady's walking past the stream and all of a sudden they're like comes and grabs her leg and tries to drag her in. Usually they can fight it off, but sometimes they like have terrible gashes on their feet or arms or whatever. Yes. No, that's interesting. Ooh, I gotta watch that. Cool. All right, so anyway, moral of the story. Today, we are solving inequalities. I'm going to pause the video while I hand out the worksheet, and that's all we have for new stuff. I'll give a couple more examples off the worksheet. All right, by now you have the worksheet. Number 1. It's got x minus 4 is less than 3. I bet you're already done with it. What did you do both sides? You added 4 is correct. Does adding 4 make you switch the sign? No, so the sign stays the same. So I just add 4 to both sides, and isn't it nice to be back to like something that's fairly easy? X is less than 7. You find a 7 on the number line. You circle it, of course. Do I fill it in? Not on this one, because it doesn't say or equals. If it did, I would fill it in. And it says a point, to me that's pointing that way, so that's the way we shade. There we go. All right, look at number 2. Take a wild guess. What happens on number 2? You're dividing by what? You're not dividing by? Dividing by -2. You are correct. So I'm dividing by -2. Whoop, whoop, whoop. I just set off the dividing by a negative alarm. Because what's supposed to happen now? Switch the sign. I almost set the school on fire last night. Did I tell you that yet? Because I was doing this survival practice thing, and the alarm did not go off, thankfully. But we were, because my trip to Costa Rica, we were practicing starting fires in a safe place where there's this hood that's supposed to suck all the smoke up into the but apparently it got so cold last night that they had shut the vent, so it couldn't vent. And so the smoke was like pouring out into the room because the vent was supposed to suck it up, but it couldn't because of the cold, extreme cold, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, I really didn't start the school on fire. But the smoke could have gotten bad enough to set off the smoke alarms, which could have triggered the sprinklers, which, yeah, anyway, could have got really bad there. Thankfully, it didn't. So I switched the sign. Did you switch the sign? Now, here's an important note. Do you get that when I put this -3 and I circle it, that this moment will be critical? If you just go with what I said before, the pointy end is pointing to the right, but you'd be wrong. You always need to switch this around so the X is on this side. Do you get what I'm saying here? And which is the alligator going to eat, the -3 or the X? It's grabbing the -3. So I have it this way. Now you can tell I should be shading to the left. Do you get what I just did there? I switched it around so the X was normal. Like normally, don't you say negative? You don't normally say the number first. You normally say the letter first. If you switch it that way, then you can trust which way it's pointing. Good question. The little circle should be on -3. Is there a -3 on the little number line thingy? Okay, good. Yes, then yes, you should. And does it have an or equals in this case? No, so still can't fill it in. Number 3 is the first one where you can fill it in. All right, let's do one more. 3 is pretty easy. Let's skip to number 5 because it's got 2 steps. It's called multi-step. It's really super easy still, though. You're good at these already. Teacher's apparently not good at writing the problems. Sorry. 3x plus 1 is greater than 4. Subtract 1, subtract 1. 3x is greater than 3. Dang, I don't get to do the switch the sign alarm because I never divided by a negative. Very good. X is bigger than 1. That's all there is to it. All right. Now, there isn't even any really tricky ones on here. Number 9. Does anybody know how to fix number 9? Because it's got an issue. The issue is the 9. How do I fix that? Look at number 9. You times by 9. No, by 9. Because the 9 is the thing that makes it a fraction. You got to times everything by 9 there. Okay, that's all the advice I have for you on that one.